Hey, what's going on everyone? Nick here and welcome back to the channel. So with today's video, I wanted to mostly talk about what is the future of the Alien franchise at Disney now that we have Alien Romulus and the movie has been relatively successful. So the movie's been out for roughly 2.5 weeks and a lot of people have been singing praises about it. I made a review about it. I said I liked it. There was things I didn't like about it, but mostly it was positive. I think that it's put the Alien franchise back on the right track after the prequels that were very divisive, had a lot of people asking questions. They didn't necessarily think that they felt like Alien movies. They were kind of trying to be its own thing, which is, fair in its own right, but this movie definitely went back to the roots of the franchise, the first two movies, in terms of the aesthetic, the tone, the visual style, everything like that. And it also answered a lot of questions that people had about the sort of shadowy intentions of the company Weyland-Yutani, how they knew about the xenomorph in Aliens. They recovered the big chap, they were experimenting, they also had the black liquid, the pathogen. They had derived their own version of it called Z01, which is said in the movie. A lot of things happen within this movie that I thought were interesting, and it begs the question, what really is next for the Alien franchise? Like, where do you go from here? Now, you could make a sequel, that's definitely just following up the events of this movie with Rain and Andy as they go to Yavaga, the planet that they were planning on all going to in the movie, and Fede Alvarez has also talked about that, and he has spoken the fact that he has ideas in his head at least for where a sequel could go, which makes perfect sense to me. There was a lot of positive buzz surrounding this movie even before it opened to press or anyone, so you had to assume that the studio was probably high on it behind closed doors, and that they probably mentioned to Fede that have ideas ready just in case this actually ends up doing quite well at the box office and with critics, and it seems like he does have some ideas. He also teased the fact that wherever this planet that they're going to, that they've fantasized about being this perfect idyllic place, is actually not going to be idyllic, and it's going to be harsh and difficult for them. So it's clear that he has ideas about where the story could go next if we just follow up directly with these characters and their struggles. Now, another couple interesting avenues is making a new Alien vs. Predator movie, or simply following up on the Ridley Scott prequel series. So Fede Alvarez was actually asked directly at the Los Angeles premiere for Romulus whether or not he would be interested in doing an AVP movie, and he said basically yes, he was interested in the idea, but it would be something that he'd want to co-direct with Dan Trachtenberg, who helmed Prey and is kind of in charge of the Predator universe over at 20th Century Studios right now. He's spearheading the upcoming Badlands movie, which is another entry in the Predator franchise, and he's also working on Prey 2 along with another number of other projects, and it seems like maybe Fede Alvarez could be the godfather of this new upcoming Alien slew of projects that they have, should they decide to go this route. Now that the franchise is reinvigorated, it has life at the box office, people are wanting more, maybe they could have Fede Alvarez be sort of a advisor over the new Alien movies, much like Ridley Scott has been over the past, few decades. I'd assume that they'd still obviously have Ridley involved because he is involved in the upcoming Alien Earth series from Noah Hawley. So, the ideas of doing a new AVP movie have been floating around there for quite some time. We were actually supposed to get a third AVP movie after Requiem, but that movie was such a disappointment for fans, critics, and at the box office that those ideas were scrapped, and sadly, it was an interesting idea because they actually wanted to tie in the ending of AVP Requiem where Miss Yutani finds the Predator plasma caster, and that was going to explain all of the futuristic technology and advancements within the Alien universe, which would then lead to a third AVP movie actually set in space with the colonial marines, predators, and xenomorphs. And I think that's something that a lot of fans really want to see. We want to see an AVP movie done right and actually showcase these different factions and pull something very directly inspired from the comic books and video games that have been successful over the years. Now, as for the third option with Ridley Scott's prequel series, that one is a bit more tricky because there have been a lot of years now passed between the release of Alien Covenant and the subsequent sequels that were planned for Ridley's prequel, series. There was going to be another movie which was possibly rumored to be titled Alien Awakening, and that Ridley had talked about making not just one sequel but possibly several that would eventually lead into the back end of the original Alien movie. So I think that a lot of people have really come around on the prequel movies recently. I've seen a lot of talk about them on social media, especially leading up to Romulus, because a lot of new generation of people that may have never watched the Alien movies wanted to watch all of them before seeing Romulus in theaters. So there's been a newfound love and appreciation that I've seen online for both Prometheus and Covenant. So I think that there is an appetite for a third prequel movie if it happens now, but the question is whether or not that time has passed for Ridley Scott himself, because the man is a machine. He's not stopping making movies anytime soon, currently wrapping production on his Gladiator movie, post-production on that's coming out later this year. He has another few projects already lined up, and he hasn't really talked about doing another Alien movie for quite some time. I think the last time he actually mentioned it within an interview was around the time that he was doing press for Raised by Wolves, and at the time he was talking a lot about how there was a script, there was an idea for another movie, but it was going to be moving away even further from the xenomorphs being the focus and more focusing on AI and the world that an AI could create for himself should he find himself as the leader. So I think that was clearly hinting at David becoming sort of a leader of a planet or a society or something, and how that would shape into the story. Obviously the engineers would have come back as well. So a lot of interesting ideas floating out there, and it's not an easy question to answer actually about what is next for the Alien franchise, or what is the future of this franchise really, because we know that people want to see more of these movies. There's an appetite for it. It's a franchise that is never going to really die out. As many times as they've tried to mine the oil wells of the Terminator franchise, they keep going back to that thing. So it's like Alien is an iconic IP, a franchise. People are always going to be interested in it because of the title character, the alien itself. So there's just endless routes to go with this character, and I leave that question to you guys now. Where do you want to see the franchise go next? Do you want to see them continue the storyline from Romulus with Rain and Andy going to this new planet? Do you want to see a new AVP movie? Would you like to see Ridley Scott come back and continue his prequel saga? Or would you like to see them just go completely different with it and make another standalone Alien movie that has new characters, a new setting, a new idea, something like that? I remember a few years ago, I believe, around the time that Covenant came out actually, there were reports that Fox was, quote, reassessing the Alien franchise after the box office disappointment of Alien Covenant, and there were a lot of rumors around the time that originally the plan was to make one more prequel movie for Ridley Scott's saga to tie into the original Alien, and then they were going to do a sort of soft reboot and set a new movie into the future with new characters, new environments, things like that. So, that still is on the table, to do another sort of standalone entry like Romulus was, and just have a new cast of characters encounter this alien creature. But let me know what you guys think of this down in the comments below. What would you like to see out of this franchise? Lots of different interesting avenues they could go. Obviously there's years of comics and novels that they could also mine from for inspiration in terms of storylines and characters, but it just remains to be seen whether or not they want to follow up on the Romulus story or not, or if they go a completely different direction with it. If you guys are new to the channel and you like this video, subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified whenever I drop new content. If you want to hit me up on social media, you can find me in the links down below, and with all that being said, I will catch you guys next time.